Okay. Hi, I am talking about my experiences growing up in the mountains, going to the mountains and hiking, and I've done it my entire life. Every single summer we go to Colorado or Wyoming or someplace that in the mountains and we go hiking. Over my life, I've actually hiked probably over 400 miles. And I started out when I was a baby. Before I could walk, my parents would take me into a backpack and with the rest of my family, my siblings and everything, and we'd all go into the mountains and just hike. Um, the last time I went was this past summer. We went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and this was the never-ending hike. It was supposed to be 16 miles, and it ended up turning into 20 miles and or more. And it was awful, but it was also absolutely wonderful. It was probably one of the prettiest hikes I've ever been on in my entire life. We started out, we took a tram up into the mountains, and we ended up hiking down one of the mountains and then climbing back up another one. And we hiked back into this beautiful area, um, into this lake area, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It was some of the bluest water I've ever seen in my entire life. And on our way back there, we first of all ran into a moose and her calf, and it was really kind of funny and interesting, but it was scary because you have to be careful because they can charge at you. And so it was just kind of interesting, like just being able to see that because you don't see that every day. And a lot of times you don't see them in town because they're scared of people, and so they don't come towards you. And so that was interesting. And then as we got back to the lake, the lake was down in this little valley, and in the we put our stuff down, and there's about a steep hill, and we're getting our stuff off and getting ready to eat lunch, and all of a sudden a group of probably 20, 30 guys that we had passed earlier start running and screaming, bear, 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 there's a bear, run, bear, and we all start freaking out. There's 5 of us, and we're like, okay, we're in the worst spot you can be because there's a lake and then there's hill, and there's nowhere you can go if the bear starts coming down. So we're sprinting up this tall hill, and we're out of breath, and we climb up on this tall rock trying to like protect ourselves or whatever. I mean, trying to get as high as we can and make sure there's no bear around us. But so that was kind of funny. This was within like 10 minutes of seeing the bear or the moose. So anyways, but we started walking back, and after we ate lunch, and we decided to take an easier route because we didn't want to walk straight back up that hill because we had already walked probably 10 miles. And we start seeing signs that we're about 9 miles from the town that we parked our car in, and we keep walking, and we finally passed 9 miles, and there's a mile marker sign, so we're thinking, okay, we have a mile left. And we keep walking, and there's another mile marker, and it's literally never ending. But needless to say, it was very exhausting, and it was definitely adventurous with everything that happened. But it was one of the prettiest hikes I've ever been on, and we were very sore the next day. None of us could walk. It was kind of funny. But after that, I've also been to another hike. This was actually also in Jackson Hole, but this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. Um, we went on a hike where it was like probably 12 miles, and we were all talking about how we have to be careful about going around bends because there's bears sometimes, and if you scare them, they can attack you, or even the moose or whatever. So we're walking towards this bend, and there's this marmot sitting on this rock, and it was hilarious because it was like we got probably a foot away from it before it realized that we were there, and and so we were all just kind of laughing once it scampered away, and all of a sudden there was a moose, and I almost walked into the moose's butt. Like, it was just right there, and it was kind of funny, but it was really funny, and it was just kind of ironic that we had just been talking about that. But later, about an hour later, we got to this part of the trail where there's tons of snow, and so we ended up having to hike through the snow, and we got to this point where we couldn't go any further. And so then we were just trying to see how far we could go before we lost our trail or whatever. And so, or see if we could get to the point we were trying to go to. And we ended up not getting there. And so the rest of the time we were sliding down the mountain because we had gone up switchbacks, and we were just sliding down the mountain on our butts with our with our sweatshirts or jackets or whatever tied around our waist so we wouldn't get too wet. And so it was just kind of funny, but that was just really interesting. But even though we weren't able to get to the place that we were going, it was still very memorable, and it was still very adventurous, and it was fun. And but through all of this and all my other experience I've had, I've come to love the mountains and the cold weather that's there. Most everyone loves to have a little adventure and fun, and that is why I love going up to the mountains. I've always had a good experience. I've always had fun. I've always enjoyed all the adventures I've had and everything that's happened to me there. And it's always thrilling for me. I've grown up to appreciate my opportunities I've had here, even though when I was younger I didn't as much because I didn't realize how much it was that my parents were doing for us. And that's why I've really come to enjoy it all. And the mountains have become a huge part of my life. And that's why I eventually want to end up there, just because I've absolutely loved it. But that's all.